So we're live now on Facebook and on YouTube. Let me see. Something about IG is really weird. Here we go.
Okay, you gotta ask Uncle Shannon Sharp about that. See how he does.
Don't.
he might give us a I just got the notification anyway.
I'm not following up. So thank y'all so much. Welcome to the Crown by Nichele. Because I learned how to do some things, y'all, I have to put something up. Let me see if I can put it up real quick for you so y'all can see what I learned. Even though I was just telling Calderone I'm done with this platform, but I still want to show what I learned tonight, and it's not there. Hold on. I learned how to put my logo. No, what it is this. Here we go. So I learned how to put my logo up here. There we go. Crown by Nichele podcast. How are y'all doing tonight? So we are on episode 7, and I'm very excited about this episode. But before we even get into the episode, there's some information I realized I haven't been talking to y'all about that I need to talk to you about. Number one, if you have not registered to vote, October 14th for Richland County is the absolute last day. I know it's different per state, per county, but I definitely know in Richland County, they extended it due to Hurricane Helene. So if you are not registered to vote, make sure you get with Richland County. If you go to scvotes.gov, you can see if you're registered. Also look to see what information you have listed. Like I look to see where my voting precinct is, if that information is correct, if your status is correct. Also, one thing that is on scvotes.gov is it will show you a sample ballot. I need you to pull that up so you can see who you're voting for. Like some of you are voting for school board members. You need to go on their websites and find out their platforms, because that's where it starts. It's not just about the presidential election. It's also about who are on our local school boards, who are on our county councils, who are our senators. So I was hoping I could find a flyer with some dates on it. Because I know voting early, if I'm not mistaken, starts as early as October 21st. And if I find that, I may just bring it up at the end. But I do know voting early starts as early as October 21st. You will vote downtown. I think it's off of Hampton. That's where you will vote. If not, you can vote on election day. So please make sure you find out your status. Make sure you talk to your family members to find out their status. And make sure you have everything in line so we are ready for November. And not just, again, for our presidential election, to make sure we have the proper school board people, make sure we have the proper county council, senators, or whatever. Find out their platforms. So I'm really excited about today's podcast and what drove today's podcast. Before I get into my guests and have them introduce themselves, I'm going to tell you the reason why I brought about this podcast. So currently my family is in a situation where we are, I don't know if battle is the word, but we are trying to figure out some land that has been left as heirs property. And we found out because my grandmother did not necessarily have certain things in place, we are now having to go to court to figure this out. So that prompted my mom to make sure that she has not a will in place, but a trust in place. And to make sure that when she goes to be with the Lord, we have everything we need. And she actually sat me and my brother down one day. He came down from Charlotte and we had a conversation. I'll never forget, I was talking to a good friend of mine and she said, that seems like a morbid conversation. And I said, no, at the end of the day, you don't know when your loved ones are going to leave here. So if your loved ones leave here, do you have proper things in place? So my mom showed me the life insurance. She showed us, with the house, it was certain things. She actually had, it's called a love letter to my loved one. And it's actually something I was able to Google and find it, but literally you can lay out your wishes, what you want to happen, even to the point to your service, who should be there, the burial plot. I mean, every single thing in relation to your death, with the policies, what debts you have, all those things are laid out and you can fill that out, print it out and have it someplace where your family can find it. And I'm pretty sure Calderone will talk about all that. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yes. You say it better than anybody else.
So Calderone, I'm pretty sure is going to touch on that, but that would prompted me to have this conversation. So immediately reached out on Facebook, and then I was directed to one person. They were like, "No, you need to talk to Calderone. He can definitely help you with this." And immediately when I contacted him, he was all hands on deck, as the kid says, 10 toes down. He was ready to go because he feels like y'all need to know this information. So I want to thank you for your time. And we've been going back and forth, I want to say, for the past 2 weeks, just making sure that we had everything available and to make sure we had the information. And he wanted to make sure this was on point because he is very passionate about this. Calderone, is there anything else? Calderone, is there anything you want to add to your intro in a way?
Not really. I just want to say thank you for having me on, and also just taking the initiative to not just have me or think of me to have this podcast to get this information out, because especially for people like we spoke before, people who look like us for some reason, which is not a bad thing, but they don't understand the importance of having things in place, whether you're dead or alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's very important for us to have these conversations, uncomfortable conversations, because uncomfortable conversations allows for growth. So once again, thank you for having this platform and allowing growth to happen on this evening.
And we say uncomfortable conversations, and I wonder if part of the problem is some of us in our minds, we think if we have this conversation that your mom or your dad or whoever is going to drop dead the next day. No, I need us not to think that way. The point of us giving you this information is so y'all can be prepared. I don't know, y'all know how many times I have witnessed, whether it's in real life or in the news, how certain people didn't have certain things in place. And then as a result, people got taken advantage of, or things are in court longer than they needed to be. And the reality is a lot of stuff like I just learned about, and that's what we're going to talk about next. One of the topics we're going to talk about, I always heard about a trust, but I didn't understand the extensiveness of a trust. And that is something that Calderone is definitely going to go into detail with you. But first, before we even get into a will and a trust, life insurance. I want to let you speak on that, and then I'm probably going to ask you questions along the way, but that's your specialty. But I definitely want you to speak on that first.
Yes. So a lot of people, if you follow me, IG, Facebook, TikTok, I am an advocate for life insurance. Like, that is my focus, right? And with life insurance plays an important role for everything, like as far as you getting a will and a trust. Because if you don't have anything in place to leave behind to basically keep everything on go, like say for instance, like you were, I think you was talking about somebody, Ryan. Well, I actually know a couple of people as well, a couple of situations, clients, talking to clients daily, of how they're calling me asking for a policy because their grandmother passed away, but also in the same sense, right? They don't have any funds to pay to keep grandma's house in the family, right? So now that's when you get into the wills and the trust and things of that magnitude, because people don't have the funds to pay for the taxes, and then the house goes up for tax liens. But most important, life insurance is not just for death, people. It's called life insurance. It's for the people that you are leaving behind, right? They're going to continue to live in this world, right? Prime example: a young parent, whether you got kids 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't care how many kids you have, right? You should have a life insurance policy, right? Reason being is because what tends to happen, especially in our community, somebody passes away, guess where the child goes? To a family member or a loved one. Now, if you don't have the money to not bury you, not only that, you didn't even set it up to where your family could properly take care of your kids, and they have kids of their own. So now you got two households or two sets of kids that you having to take care of, or that family member. So how is that dynamic going to work? Now you're getting into, once again, the generational curses as far as like poverty mindset. Now everybody's having to scrape for pennies. Now everybody got to call auntie down the road to help out with Pookie Jr. You know what I mean? And then it's a revolving cycle over and over again. And all we have to do is just one decision to say, you know what? I'm going to get a life insurance policy, not just enough to bury you. leave grandma's ideology about life insurance alone, people. This is 2024. Okay. Have a lot of life insurance. I don't care if you have, you should have at least over $100,000 worth of
I was about to ask you that. What's the general amount? And I'm assuming that amount, which, like, let's say grandma's house is paid off.
Mhm.
That amount, I guess, would that vary depending on, or would you do less or more?
I would say this, Ryan. You should do more because once again, you want to keep that, you want to keep grandma's house in the family because grandma's house still going to collect bills if you want to continue to have it running. The light bill still got to be paid. Grandma house might got a gas bill still. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Property taxes, all of that stuff still goes on. Those bill collectors are not worrying about grandma passing away. If it's, and especially if you're keeping it for a keepsake, like say for instance, like my dream is to have a home, right? If my kids grow up and they hit hard time, life be life, and they can move, my grandkids can move into that house, right? But how can that house sustain if there is no type of funds to, oh, I don't know what happened just now.
I don't know what happened. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You came back.
Okay. But yeah, that house still cannot sustain itself because we don't have funds to keep it up. But life insurance is the lifeline to also generational wealth. Okay. Actually passing on generational wealth to the next generation. A lot of people say, hey, I didn't come from a wealthy family, but a wealthy family is going to come from me. Right. The quickest way to do that is through a life insurance policy.
So I hear some people in my head right now, not literally, but like I'm thinking about what some people would say. I can't afford life insurance. I can't afford to put money away. Can you speak to that and speak to them about how possibly they could afford? They just are maybe overestimating how much they could put in with life insurance.
Okay. Now I'm gonna ask you this: you want me to be very blunt, or do you want me to keep it?
No, be very. No, we're very honest and upfront on the show. Yes.
Okay. So, to be honest with you, it's not about affordability, right? It's about mindset. It's about mindset, and the reason why I say that is because our communities, and I see it all the time within my family, friends, all of that stuff of that magnitude. I would reach out to them, say, hey, get a policy. It's affordable, not necessarily affordable, but it's comfortable. I know you can afford it. I can't afford it. I can't afford it. But I also look at, I'm not pocket watcher. I'm not a pocket watcher. I'm just a very observant person. But I see you buying bottles of I see you, taking trips. I see you doing all of this stuff, and you're posting it on IG. Now, mind you, do your thing. I'm not mad at you, baby girl. I'm not mad at you, homeboy. Do your thing. But however, you can't afford a $50 policy. Also, the number one thing, a lot of sneakerheads out here, they buy Jordans every time they release. It's 300. It's not even the store.
It's not even 300 anymore.
It's not 300 anymore. You go on a StockX and all of these shoe websites and all that stuff, and you buy that, but you won't even get a $50 policy for your child. At least your child. But come on. But like I said, it's a mindset thing. If you take $50 a month equates to $600 per year. You spend $600 in a weekend on BS, to be honest with you. I've done it. I still do it, right? But I got my insurance policies in place, so I can do that, right? Lord forbid something happens to me, my family is taken care of. But $600 per year, that's all it takes. That's all it takes, young folks. Like, that's it. So if you're one of those people, I can't afford it, I'll give you another thing. I used to do this as well. I used to DoorDash. I used to DoorDash for my insurance policy because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So get you a side hustle, right? DoorDash, Uber Eats, anything of that magnitude. Make your policy money. Boom, for the weekend, have your policy money, and then you can by all means do what you want to do. It's so many things out here. It's a want to. Like I said, it's all mindset. So when somebody tells me they can't afford it, I just shut the conversation down because I know it's a mindset thing. I don't even try to push them to get it. It's like, okay, cool. I will follow up later on, but I just follow up to see if that mindset has changed or something has clicked to say, you know what, CRG, you're right about that. I'm gonna go ahead. I can afford this. I can do this $30 per month.
And I love how you broke that down price wise. And me and my mother were having that conversation about how you have sometimes the females, you have the most expensive bag. Like I think it's called excuse me, because I don't know that Brahmin or Brahmin or something like that.
I don't know either.
But I know they're very expensive bags. So you think about how much you spend on that.
Is it Birkin? Are you talking about Birkin bag?
It's not. I know Birkin, but I want to say it's a Brahmin, or it's like a snake skin almost, and it's textured. If someone knows and wants to put it in the comments, help me out. But it's a very expensive bag, and when you think about how much you spent on that one bag,
right?
That's your policy that you could have paid out in 1 year, or paid up in 1 year or 2 years, even that. I'll admit, my life insurance policy that I currently have right now, I'm paying $15 a month for $100,000. And I plan on increasing that. I actually had more than that when I was working with my school district, but because I transitioned, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm learning how to navigate. I'm actually going to meet with a specialist in the next couple of weeks and get some more, because I do want it to be where if something was to happen to me, the house will be paid off. I don't have any car payments, praise God, but I want it where if my son is old enough, he could live here by himself. So I don't want it where he has a mortgage, he has to worry about taxes. Like, you want to make sure your family can live. It may not be a super duper huge thing where they're set for the rest of their life, but you want them for I would think at least 2 to 5 years after you pass. So you tell me if I'm wrong. At least 2 to 3, 5 years after you pass, they can maintain it, and then as they get more income, it can be doable. Am I wrong to say that?
No, you're not wrong at all. And that's why you need to have it in place, because like you said, Lord forbid something happens to you, your 18-year-old son can now focus on growing his empire. Or taking your empire to another level, because he doesn't have any type of, only thing he has to do, I'll tell people this all the time, it's one thing to grieve once, but when you have to grieve twice, that's crazy, because you have to grieve about your loved one being gone. Then now you got to grieve about, well, mommy was the breadwinner, or dad was the breadwinner, or whoever was the breadwinner. How am I going to sustain this? So now I got like my dad always say, I got a hump, son. I got a hump. I gotta go bust my tail for a job that really don't care about me anyway, to make sure I keep up mama's legacy or dad's legacy or whatever the case may be. So, but those 3 to 5 years are so important, because once again, he can take that insurance money, however much it is. Like, for instance, $1 million policy, literally, you can get $1 million policy for $100 a month. $1 million policy for $100 per month, people. That's $1,200 a year. Simple math. So imagine you having that. I don't want anything to happen to you, but just imagine if something were to happen to you and your kids have access to $1 million. Now you're talking about generational wealth in the sense of like money, because generational wealth is also information too. So this is the true generational wealth, passing on the information, teaching it, planting the seeds, and implementing it as well. But just imagine your kids having access to that amount of money because mommy or dad left that behind, and now they can also build on that and bless the kids that you will never ever ever see in your life, your lineage. And then that question will come up and say, you know what? Who built this empire for us? Who started it? Who planted the seed? Where was your great granddaddy Calderone Green? That's what I want. That's what I want to hear. I mean, I can't hear it, but that's what I want my legacy to be. And that's what I want. Everybody else should think the same exact way.
So it's one of the reasons why I'm harping on this conversation also is I'm grateful to be part of a ministry, Right Direction Christian Church International, who's under the leadership of Bishop Bailey and Dr. Marsha, and he actually, we have what is called Focus on Our Money. And one of the things he talked about, he broke this down to us and about life insurance, about a will and trust. And he was saying how, and he even broke it down biblically, how you're considered an infidel if you don't leave something for your children. Like you can't take care of your children. You're supposed to leave an inheritance for your children. And one thing I want to speak to also before we move on to the next topic is some of you claim you can afford it. Really evaluate your spending habits. How many times do you eat out a week? How many times are you going on vacations? Break down that money. And I'm pretty sure how many times do y'all, and I'm saying y'all because it's not me, y'all go to Starbucks. Break that money down. Yep. And you will see, he said $1 million policy, you can pay $100 a month. Some of you are going to be able to see where you have $100 a month. And for you, it may not start with $1 million. You may be like me, like I'm starting over because I'm in my new business. You may start off with $15, $20 a month and start there. And then you add on as you go. And it will add up. And I'm telling you, you would definitely want one. Now you start with yourself. You also want to have one on your children. My mom admitted she has one on my son. So you pay as you go, but you earn as you go. And what I really want to say, start where you can. That's what I want to say. Yes. Start where you can. If it's just $15, $20 a month, and then when you see you can increase it, and make sure that everyone is covered. Because again, I like how you said it. You don't want to grieve twice. That is the worst feeling in the world, that you already lost someone who was the love of your life, who was a part of your soul, and then you can't. Y'all don't know how y'all gonna pay for this funeral. Y'all don't know how y'all gonna maintain this house. Then you find out all these debts that they have that y'all are not prepared to handle. But if we've already had that conversation, you would already be prepared. I have this going on. Like my mom broke it down to us. These are the only, and she's been extremely blessed. She's 70 years old. It might be 2 or 3 bills that she like logistically has. I mean, she has a lot of things that are paid off. So it was like, this is what you need to know. This is what this account is. And she really broke it down to us. And I'm glad she did that, even though I believe she's going to live forever. It means we know that is not realistic. So at the same time, we want to make sure you're prepared. So do you want to bring up the presentation, or do you want?
Oh, either or is fine. Yeah, either or is fine.
Yeah. Let me add it to the stage. And then let me see if I can do that view a little bit better. Okay, so we're at I'll put us to the side.
Yeah. And so I'm sorry, go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
No, tell me what you need me to do, and I got you.
Okay. So I created this this presentation, everybody, so that way you can see a visual of the difference between wills and trusts. And it's very simple. Okay. Now, as I mentioned before, in order for you to have one of these, first and foremost, get your life insurance policy, because you want to have something to be able to get these and keep everything going like you want it to go. Because if you don't have a life insurance policy, there's no need for you to even have a will nor a trust, because there's nothing you can keep, your family can have, right? But you can go to the first is the title page, of course, wills versus trust, understanding the difference. So we got, what is a will, right? If you can read it, everybody can read. I'm pretty sure everybody can read. But a will is a legal document outlining how your assets are distributed after death and naming guardians for minors. It only takes effect after. So this is just saying, like Ryan was saying, like her mom sitting them down. Hey, this is what you need to know. This is where this at. This is where this at. This is how much I got. Also, too, this is what I want happening. Like what was the name of that document you say you have?
It's called A Love Letter to My Loved One. If I find it, I'm gonna plug it up so I can access it. So
okay. So what something of that magnitude, right? You're able to plan your funeral, all that stuff. So that's what a will is. You're like, hey, these are my wishes. So think about it like this. When you ask for a wish, or you ask someone to do something, you ask the first word you say, will you? So will you do this for me? That's what a will is. Okay. Also, too, as you all can see, is naming like guardians. If you're a parent, hey, my wishes are for my children to, for my sister, if something were to happen to me and my kids will be taken care of by my sister or my brother or my auntie or my uncle, or my parents. That's what that is. Okay. So once again, a will is just saying, hey, will you do this for me? Because these are my wishes. All right. Now, a trust is very stronger than just asking somebody, like, will you do this for me? Now, if you really trust somebody, guess what you're going to do? Right? You're going to make sure that everything is, hey, I'm trusting you to do this. Right. So a trust is a legal entity that manages assets, right? Manages assets during life and after death, allowing for flexible control and can take effect while you're alive. So these are the things that you can have in place, a trust you can have in place for your kids as well too. So say for instance, you have a trust, you purchase a trust, right? And you're like, for instance, let's use baby boy for example, right? Y'all have a trust, he's 18 years young. I'm ready to buy my house. I don't want to go to college. Okay, babe, go ahead and go into family trust, get that down payment, whatever you need to get that house or that car or whatever. It's just like that, people. It's just it's that simple, right? But the trust also protects. You can go to the next slide because I think it goes into that right there. Well, it doesn't go into that, but that's what the trust is. So once again, will you do this trust? Hey, this is for us. It's locked in for life. I can access it while I'm alive. Okay. Now, probate process and privacy. So there are two different things with it because the probate processes on both of them are totally different, and the privacy clauses of them are totally different. So with the will, of course, it'll go through a probate, also, which can be a time consuming, and is also introduced to the public. So that's what I was saying to Ryan earlier when I mentioned about, somebody not having a life insurance. Grandma passes away. Grandma didn't have a life insurance policy in place to, get the house to, paid off for the taxes. Now she can have it in the will, right? She can have it in the will and everything like that. But something happens, is not paid or whatever like that. It's going to be public records. Also, to your will be public. The whole thing will be public after, but it become that after death. Because now you got to say, hey, well, who owes the taxes on this house? And then people go and buy it, right? So the will, of course, is your wishes, but not necessarily the things that can happen unless you don't take care of the first part first. Okay. Now with the trust, as you all see, it avoids probate because guess what? The trust is, hey, this is ours. All right. So you're gonna put grandmama's house, all her assets in this trust. So even if she passes away, guess what? Uncle Sam can't come take nothing. Nobody can't come mess around with y'all and say, hey, you haven't, whatever the case may be, they can't come touch you. Okay. Also, too, it's a private entity, but just between your family. It's private. That's just think about it like that. My mom and my dad always say, hey, what happens in this house, what stays in this house. Okay. So that's what a trust is, right? Everything, if you read this right here, avoids probate, ensuring privacy and faster distribution of assets. So once again, you don't have to necessarily, because it's in the family trust, you don't have to have a duration of time. You have to wait to get whatever assets you're trying to get from it. It's like, hey, my last name is Jenkins. I'm entitled to this. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it is. Now, once again, just to reiterate, it remains private and is not publicly disclosed unless you got that auntie that's gonna go around telling everybody. He got a trust. You got them family members. Everybody do. But next slide.
But one thing I want to reiterate that you just said, a lot of people don't realize, again, a will, you're going to have to go to probate court. And then like my mom was sharing how a close friend of hers, I think it's been a year since her loved one has passed, and they are still trying to hash things out. Yeah. So having a trust in place will allow you to cut back on all that and make sure, like he says, immediate access to whatever that is in that trust. Now, I don't know if you're going to get into this later on in your presentation. It is more expensive to put in a trust.
Yes.
But it's worth it.
Yes. But think about it like this, Ryan. That's with anything in life, right? It's quality. For quality, you're gonna pay. And I don't even say pay. I like to use the word invest.
Invest. Yeah, I like that.
You see what I'm saying? And that's the actual key to everything, to life insurance, to wills, to trust, to making sure your family is safe and sound. It's not you having bills. No, it's an investment to make sure that the ones that come after you are A-OK, like the little rascals, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it's yes, it is expensive. With a trust, you'll have to get a lawyer, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, get a lawyer. Y'all, you know, I won't get into the details of that and everything like that, but just you have to get a lawyer to make sure you get a trust done. Excuse me. And once you do that, tell them what, like, your entities, which comes with, if you have a business, right? You can put your businesses in the trust, right?
Mm.
What else? Anything you can think of, you feel like it's an asset, you can put it in a trust. So that way no one can come and mess with it.
Wow, love it.
It's that simple. People is that
Mm-hmm.
simple. It's no, I don't like, you might have somebody else that try to get into the fancy words and stuff. Like, it's simple. It's
Mm-hmm.
that simple, people. Literally. Literally. And this brings it, actually, that goes into the next slide, control and flexibility. Okay. Oh,
Okay.
same slide. Same slide. I'm
Go
sorry.
back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Control and flexibility, right? So the wills, of course, you can only control it after death, no lifetime management. And the reason why it's no lifetime, because there's no life when, literally, and I'm not saying that to be funny, but you know, it only goes into effect after the person dies, right?
Mm.
With the trust, once again, it manages assets both during your life, if needed, and after your death. So the trust, once again, is a set in stone asset or assets, whether you're alive or whether you're dead. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I can have access to whatever I need to do. My children, they can have access. If I'm here, instead of them coming to daddy personally, dad, can I hold $10,000? Go to the trust, son. Don't bother me. Go to the trust. I'm giving you access to the trust. Your last name is Green. Go do what you gotta do. You know, just let me know how much you're getting out of there, whatever it is. Right. That's how it is. Think about the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. Like, that's what they did. All of that stuff that I ain't gonna get nobody shut down or anything, but that's a whole nother topic. But just look at how they have it to where they own everything in the world because of a trust. They put everything in
Mm.
a trust. All right. So yeah, that's just that simple. Control and flexibility, people. Wills go into effect after you die. Trust, you manage it, and whatever you need to do with that while you're alive or dead, because it's still going to go on forever and ever and ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next slide.
Yes, ma'am. Next slide. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're
Now,
fine.
this is what you were talking about, right? The
Mm-hmm.
cost, complexity. Will, simpler, less expensive. Like Ryan said, a letter to my loved one, like, that's a form of a will. Once again, because
Mm-hmm.
it's just a paragraph or a form or a booklet of your wishes. What, you know, once
Mm-hmm.
again, where you want to have your, who you want to officiate your funeral, who you
Mm-hmm.
don't want at your funeral. Hey, I don't want cousin Pookie at my funeral. He get on, he get crazy. He might say something crazy. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff like that. Even when it comes to the house, like, hey, I want my son or my daughter to have my vehicle or my home or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's simple, right? It's just a wish. Once again. Now, with the trust comes to that, as you all can see, it's more complex and costly, but can save money by going back to Ryan's favorite word, the probate, by avoiding probate. All right. Now, the trust will protect whatever is in that will. So the wishes are, think about it like this, is think about it like you praying to God. That's how I can, you asking God for whatever the case, whatever it may be, right? But the trust that you have in God, the trust is called the trust is God. God grants that, and He blesses you with whatever it is. Guess what? That's what the trust is, because now you're like, okay, it's set in stone. God, I asked you for my business to boom, and guess what? It's booming. You see what I'm saying? That's how I like to
Mm-hmm.
explain it. But it's more complex, people. It is more complex, and when they say more complex, because you have to There's certain documentations you got to get into, sign, all of that stuff. You have to have like trustees and all that type of stuff, and making sure you have designated like revocable and irrevocable people on there. Like people, okay, these people irrevocable meaning, hey, they can't change anything. Revocable meaning they can't change something. So it goes all the way into the pits of that. All right, that's why it's so complex. And
so what? I don't mean to cut you off, but why this question was. So what is like the price point for a trust so we can get people's minds ready?
That's a great question. So I think that depends upon, like I said, you have to hire a lawyer for that. Okay. And I think most times, from my understanding, and I know a couple of lawyers who do trust, like whatever price they give you. So they might tell you 5,000. And also too, it also is based upon once again the complexity of it. So if you have a very complex trust that you're trying to get taken care of, they might charge you 5, they might charge you 10K, whatever they feel deemed that is worth whatever they happen to do. But once again, it's a one-time thing. Right? It's a one-time thing. Literally.
So if you have to, and I don't even mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. I need to do better with that. I can't stand when it's two people I know famous in journalism, and I cannot stand when they do that. And I'm doing it myself. My bad.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good.
I know some of you, when you heard 5K and you heard 10,000, you're like, oh. But think about how much you spend on vacations. Think about maybe this next year we don't want to go on vacation because we want to make sure that we have our will and trust in place and it's done. And it's, again, like he said, it is done. So again, I would research lawyers. I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do after this podcast is I'm going to get with Calderone and some other people and to find out some lawyers you can possibly speak to and find out rates, how much it costs, what they will quote you. So you will get in your mind, this is how much I need to save. And let's be honest, some of you already had that because you plan on going to Mexico next year. So if that's the case, if you think about how much you spend on a vacation, well, maybe this year I don't want to go on vacation because I need to have this trust in place. Because again, like you said, once you get it in place, it's done.
And also too, I said 5,000 just for that reason. So people say, "Ooh," because you want to highball it. So it's okay, I can do 2,000. It might be 2,000.
You admitted you highballed it. Okay, so it may not be that.
Like literally, there are lawyers, and also depending upon the state. Once again, wherever you're at, the lawyer can charge you however much they feel they want to charge you on that. And I'm just being real. But like Ryan just said, it's you plan on going to Mexico, stay home. It's y'all gonna do the same exact thing over every time y'all get out there. I ain't hating because I'll do the same exact thing, but you're gonna post your video, and then you're gonna complain about having to come back. I gotta go back to work. And then a couple months later, you're gonna say, take me back to Mexico. It's the same. Just go ahead and get this in place first, and then the following year, then y'all go to Mexico. And now you
then go wherever you want to go. Yeah.
You know, if something happened to you in Mexico, everything good at home.
And that's what we have to get. I don't know if it's I know it's us, but I feel like it's maybe not necessarily just us, but it's just a mentality within a certain tax bracket where we really do believe, well, tomorrow will take care of itself. Right. No, we need to be more proactive in life and making sure that our people, our loved ones are taken care of and they have things that they need to have. And I know for some of you, your complaint is going to be, well, my mom didn't do that for me. My dad didn't do that for me. But we don't have to repeat those generational curses. We can definitely break the cycle and make sure that when your family leaves here, they have an inheritance. Like one thing I will say, my dad unexpectedly passed away. It was, what's the word I want to say? He was maybe, I can't remember how old my dad was. I want to say he was 55. He was 55. He unexpectedly passed away due to a heart attack. But when I say things were in order, like him and my mom, like he already had the plot of land. Him and my mom have in the cemetery where he's buried now, and then my mom has a plot next to him, to insurance policies, to knowing where certain like things were in place. Because when I say I did not wake up that morning, I think it was July 17th, 2007. I did not expect to wake up that morning and not see my daddy ever again. So it's moments like that that really hit it home for me, that make sure you have things in place that if something happens to you, your family doesn't have to, sell things off or put together a GoFundMe or a fish fry to make sure they can bury you. And again, I like how Calderone said earlier, life insurance isn't just them burying you, it's making sure they can have life after you're gone.
Yes.
So,
and just to ditto, there's something you said about generational curses. I posted something earlier today, and it was along the lines of having generational ignorance. The reason why I say that, because you said, hey, a lot of people, and I've heard it too, just want to touch on that. People say, well, my mom and my dad didn't do it for me. But if you know the consequences of them not doing it for you, then why would you continue that cycle for your kids? And you say you love your kids, I'll die for my kids. Well, what about living for your kids? What about investing for your kids? What about putting your kids on the right path and getting things in place? What about those type of things? Anybody dying is the easiest thing to do. Why? Because everybody got to go. That's you saying something very easy to do, but the hardest thing is literally putting things in place to say, you know what, I'm going to show you that I love you so much that while I'm dead and gone, guess what? I left everything is like you said for your dad. Y'all didn't have. I'm pretty sure your mom was at peace, even though it was unexpected. Your mom was at peace. You and your siblings were at peace. Y'all were like, you know what, my mama don't have to pick up a second job, don't have to ask you to take out of your household to help her. Everything was in place.
Wow. And this is, and another thing I thought about, because I've been on this Cosby show. That was actually an episode I did on the Cosby show. But there was an episode where Cliff had a best friend that had a sudden heart attack. He didn't die from it, but the wife admitted she had never did anything with the affairs of the house. So if he was to leave, she wouldn't even know how to write a check. She wouldn't know where the bills were. She didn't know anything.
Yes.
So if you're definitely in one of those households and one of those families where one person takes care of everything, you definitely need to have that conversation with all the adults involved, any other relatives, so they'll know what is what and where it is, how to access it, what's going on with the different accounts. Because if something happens to you, that leaves that person. Because I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, even if you're married, if that person's name is not on the checking account, it can be almost a year. And correct me if I'm wrong, it could be almost a year from that person can access that money, because they have to go through probate court if they just have a will. Am I correct on that or no?
I'm not too sure. I don't want to give false information. I have to look into that as well, because
so
because I'm thinking if they're married, they show some documentation, hey, we're married and things of that magnitude. But I'm not too sure, to be honest with you.
I want it, and I might be wrong. And if I'm wrong, someone correct me, put it in the comments. But I want to say my mother admitted, because her name was on the account, she had access to the money. So it wasn't
now I would say that if that probably would make the process easier and more smoother, because her name is on it. However, like I said, if they can take, even if I don't know, they might take their marriage license in there and they might be able to do the same exact thing. Hey, this is my husband or this is my wife, because the next of kin would be your spouse anyway. You know, so if they are living,
So again, definitely make sure that you do your research. And do we have any more to present on the slides?
Yes, I think we do have. Let me see. That might be the. Let me see. Oh, basically talking about naming guardians. I think we talked about that. With the will you name, Lord forbid something were to happen to you. right? You can name whomever you want to watch over your children, but the trust, it doesn't have any guardians. All right.
Okay.
And as you can see, cannot name guardians. This must be done in a will. Okay.
So basically, in a way, would you need to do both?
Yes. And this is what you
Okay.
also, great question. And this is what you do. You feel, first and foremost, get that life insurance policy so all this can float, right? Get the life insurance
Mhm.
policy. After you get the life insurance policy, get the will in place. Okay.
Mhm.
After you get those two, you put the life insurance policy and also the will into the trust, right? Because a lot of people don't
Um,
understand that you can also put your life insurance into a trust and the trust becomes the beneficiary of your life insurance policy. All right. But
that
make
makes
sure you do both and put those two in that trust. So that way, if once again, y'all grandma passes away, y'all got a trust or whatever, and she got $1 million policy she got back way back in the olden days. Guess what? That $1 million now, everybody don't have to worry about fighting over. Well, I was there, I was taking care of her, I was wiping her, I was there when she needed me, and this and that and third. Like that's how family. Like literally,
Mhm.
if you pay attention to our culture when it comes to, and I've seen it firsthand, I hear about it.
Yes.
Like that makes me wonder, like, hey, y'all family members was waiting on grandma to pass because y'all were just worried about getting her money or getting her assets. But
Mhm.
I encourage our community to actually do like our counterparts. Like literally, I know a lot of Caucasian people, that's why they get trust because now it's allocated to nobody fighting over everything. Listen, this is the family trust.
Mhm.
Everybody got equal share to it.
Mhm.
Everybody. But you know, Lord have mercy. I can't even
Mhm.
get. Yeah, but make sure y'all put that life insurance policy into a trust. Get your will, put that into a trust so that trust can protect the both of them. Okay, like that's just
Okay.
plain and simple. All right, and in conclusion, plain and simple. Like I said, that's why the slides are like 7 slides long.
Mhm.
Wills are much more simpler and focuses on distribution after death and naming guardians. All right, that's the only thing it's for. Okay. Trusts are more complex, offers flexibility, and is controlled during life and has privacy. So those are the, well, I guess the main things of wills and trusts when you break it all the way down. Okay. So, and that's actually the end of the presentation. Because like I said, I could have 20 slides, but in this particular setting, I want to simplify it because that way, because people already think it's complex. People make
Mhm.
life
And
so complex, and when you overthink things and of that magnitude, it kind of throws you off because you don't understand. And the thing is, you have to understand and understand so that way you can move accordingly and start taking action.
And I put his social media up because if y'all have any questions, I'm pretty sure he is open to help you and assist. And if he can't assist you, he can point you in direction. I will eventually put my social media up because if you don't catch his, you can catch me. Send me an inbox message, and I can direct you to whoever can help you in the situation. Because I want us to be prepared. I want us to be prepared. Like I'll admit, the school district that I used to work in, they actually, through our benefits, offered to do a will for us for free. So check with your benefits rep to see. And then as far as the trust is concerned, find out what lawyers do trust if you want to know. If you don't know, I can ask. Again, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina, Richland County, so I can't help you in Michigan. So, and I know there's some people like I have my phone up where my TikTok is live. So I know there are people watching me from different regions, but I want us to be prepared. I want us to make sure that we have the information that we need to have because again, we don't want to, as he said perfectly, grieve twice. I understand death is hard as it is, but it's even harder when we're trying to figure out how we're going to move on financially, how we're going to take care of things financially because we weren't prepared, because we're too busy partying it up or vacationing up, and then we don't have nothing to leave for our loved ones when we're gone. So one of the last things that I remember that I wanted to bring up is a power of attorney. Can you explain that? Are you able to explain that to them and what that means and what that looks like?
Yes, ma'am. So power of attorney is as simple as you designating somebody to handle all of your last wishes, or if you're living and say, for instance, like a medical power of attorney, that's what it's called. And also a power of attorney if you're not able to function in a way where you can do things on your own, like you have people out there who have Alzheimer's, right? Um, they may not be able to sign off on very important documentation, but they have somebody to be able to be their aid, to be able to sign off for them on things. When it comes to the medical side of things, they are that person that is designated to say, hey, listen, if they tube me up and things of that magnitude, this is what I want happening, or this is what I don't want happening, right? So power of attorney is simply the person that is handling all of the business if you're not able to, whether because like physically or if you're in a mental state where you can't. So it's basically it's all simple, people. I like to keep it simple. Keep it simple. Yeah.
So, and I remember there's this particular course that we have at our church, and I'm mad it's slipping my mind, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was called D Free. It was D Free, and we talked about some things like this, even to the point helping us set up a budget. And I remember this one young lady sharing with her medical power of attorney. It was not her husband, because she knew he would not follow her wishes.
Right.
And something as simple as, they tell you you're going to be on life support. Do you want to stay on life support or do you want them to pull the plug? And even though I know for some of you that's hard to discuss or even think about, but the reality is you may be in a situation like that, and you want to make sure you have someone who is going to make a decision for you, that ahead of time, this is what I want. So again, these are hard conversations for some of you to have, but that's just like anything in life. You got to go through it and make sure you're prepared, because that will save a lot of aggravation in the end, where people are not fighting over something when it's already in writing, it's already laid out. This is what I want, this is what I need. So again, I keep going back and forth on my screens between here and Instagram to see if anyone has any questions, because if they did, I would answer them. Please feel free if you have any questions to present them in the comments. And then, do you have any, I guess, I wouldn't say last words, or anything you want to summarize, like the main points of what you summarized tonight?
Yes, I have one thing, and that's very profound. I listen to a lot of podcasts, or I listen to a whole lot of like Elmo songs. So I'm not into the new songs of nowadays with my 3-year-old son. But certain podcasts I was listening to, and they said one man's obedience, one man's obedience is tied to so many other people's destiny. Right. So when I say that, because the Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So if you are obedient to that, right, your obedience will affect your disobedience, or your obedience will affect the future that comes from
That's
you.
good.
Okay.
That's
And
good.
that's with anything in life, people, whatever decision you make, if you're out in the streets and you're doing wrong and all that stuff, like, get yourself together, because you can either get locked up or you can go to jail. And guess who that's going to affect? Your kids. That's going to affect their kids. And then what happens is that becomes the norm, because we think it's the norm. Or it happened, like you stated earlier, well, my mom and my dad did it this way, so I want to do it. Somebody has to be the generational curse breaker. Somebody has to stand in the way and say, you know what, it ends with me. It's going to stop with me. And I'm going to change this whole trajectory. I'm going to change this whole mindset of how my family or my friends or whatever community you may be a part of, how they think of things. And I'm going to bring something new, because my obedience to God is way more important than me trying to people please. You see what I'm, or trying to kick it, or trying to, have a lot of friends and things of that magnitude. Because like what I do, it's not easy talking to people about life insurance. Like my friends blowing me off, and family blowing you off. It's like, wow, like I'm trying to help you out, you know. But
Mhm.
it's but one thing I said, you know, you're gonna uh, lose a lot of people, you thought you were close with. You're not gonna be close with them anymore because once again, my obedience. I'm not looking to be liked or anything. I just want to be respected. So if I come to you, if you're one of the homies or my homegirls, and y'all watching this or anybody, right?
Mhm.
I come at you all hard because I really care about these
Mhm.
things. I come to the people who look like us. Look, they did it again. Did it again. I'm hard on our people because things of this magnitude is so important. Excuse me. And this is how we are able. We are already ahead, but just think about when we start really implement these type of stuff,
Mhm.
right?
Exactly.
So, but like I said, people, your obedience is tied to your. Excuse me. I'm gonna rephrase it. Your obedience or disobedience is tied to so many other people's destiny. So, however you want to take it. But please, people, get your affairs in order.
Yes.
Please get your affairs in order because we do not know the day or the time.
Exactly.
Deep
And
in the
it's
night.
not exactly. And again, we're not speaking death to anyone.
Yeah.
I believe in long life, but I believe in being prepared and making sure things are in place, making sure everything that is tied in together. One the question I thought about while you were speaking is, let's say we find out that grandma does not have life insurance, but grandma is on what a lot of older people like to say a fixed income.
Mhm.
Could the children come in together and put together a policy for her?
I gotta clap for you on that because that is the number one thing everybody should do, right? If you have a huge
Mm.
family like my siblings, I'm telling, hey, let's get a policy on mom and pop. You should be doing the same exact thing with your families. Y'all should be doing the same thing for grandma because at the end of the day, would you rather go in paying a little bit now? Okay, if it's 10 people, grandma's
Mhm,
policy is $100 per month. That's only $10. But if grandma don't
mhm,
have it and grandma's policy, I mean, excuse me, grandma's funeral cost is $10,000. Now you got to come up with $1,000 each. So
mhm,
would you rather $10 or would you rather come up with grand? Which one? Which one fits best in your budget? And also, you have a family as well. So togetherness, even the Bible says, when two or more are gathered, I shall be in the midst. So that lets you know, hey, when there's company, guess what? Everything is going to be okay. If you got a team
mhm,
going with you, and okay. I got this. I got my sisters. I got my first cousins. We all getting a
mhm,
policy on grandmother. It's not hurting any of us because $10 is just $10. Especially if you got 10 of y'all. So it is best for y'all to do that. Like I don't care who it is, and that's the way you can actually help keep y'all's legacy going for the kids because even grandma might want to leave something behind for her great grandbabies or her grandbabies. She can't, but guess what? The kids come together,
mhm,
get a big policy on her, and whatever whatever is left after the funeral expenses and things of that magnitude, just split it equal.
mhm,
If it's just $200, guess what? That's $200 grandma done gave to the babies for you to buy them Jordans that you've been wanting to get. So
mhm,
for your child. So yeah, just do it like that, man. Talk with you, like I said, have these conversations with like Brian kept saying it over and over again. Have these
mhm,
conversations, and it's not. I'm gonna tell you, it's not uncomfortable. I don't think it's even uncomfortable. It's like people just don't want to have them because they see. If you follow me, you see me posting about it.
mhm,
You've also experienced the death,
mhm,
right? It's just sometimes I think more so they just don't really want to have the conversation because it's so,
mhm,
like you said, talking about death, but it's not about death, people. It's about life.
mhm,
It's about life. Everybody is going to continue to live on, and they're going to need some type of love offering. That's why I like to call it, like the pastor, we need a love offering. That's your love offering.
mhm.
So yeah.
So I'm gonna just highlight some of the things. You have Alex Wright, who was tuning in earlier. He said great information, and you had Gabrielle. I hope I'm saying your name right, Gabrielle. She said, "What's in writing is what's real."
Yes. Even the Bible says, write it down and make it plain. There you
Make
go.
it plain. Make it
Write it
plain.
down and make it plain.
People don't understand when you leave up to, because I was again, me and my mom have a lot of conversations lately. And I told her how in a particular situation when my grandmother passed on my dad's side, my paternal grandmother, the assumptions, oh, he got kicked out. What happened? What happened? What happened? I don't know what happened. So hopefully he'll come back in and we'll talk. But it tripped me out how certain family members felt like they were entitled to what's the word I want to say, certain property, certain land. And it's just like, no, you are not entitled to this. Let me see if I can send him the link. So I don't know what happened. Hold up, is he back in? Yeah, he's back in.
About that, I don't know what happened
Oh,
just
you're
now.
fine. We don't know what's happening. So that's why, honestly, this is my last time using this platform because it doesn't allow you to upload audio.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna need to, because I'm officially not on like Spotify or Apple, and I'm gonna take these episodes and break them down
Mhm.
into smaller episodes and upload them.
Well, congratulations. Hey, I love to hear that.
So yeah.
That's major. That is major. That is
So
major.
it's called Riverside is the name. I don't know if I can say that on StreamYard, but whatever. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be doing that because podcast is not simply just watching, but it's also I mostly watch podcasts. I'll admit that because I from the Pivot podcast
Yes.
to I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I like the Breakfast Club, not just the entertainment stuff. They have some stuff and there's some real talk stuff. To I mean, it's a lot of different podcasts that I watch and listen to. So, but again, it's about us, and I'm so glad I brought up that question about us coming in together and buying a policy for grandma, because I just thought about something. You know how many houses and land and property would have been saved if we would have came together and got a policy for grandma? So now we're not worrying about, and let's be honest, y'all, it is white people, rich white people who come in and sweep in and realize you hadn't paid your taxes almost 5 years. Y'all didn't put anything in place to take care of the house.
Mhm.
That just blew my mind just now. That just blew
And
my
and it's a rabbit hole, people. Like I can get into like, okay, so the stigma of even with us just getting enough to bury ourselves, right? Just getting enough,
mind.
right? It dated back way back in the day, right? To where black folk we weren't able to get anything but $1,000 worth of life insurance. We couldn't get any more than that.
Wow.
Literally, that's all we could get. So what happens is that it's that conditioning passes down through generation to generation. If you go ask your grandmother, or anybody on here, you go ask your grandmother, hey grandma, if I get a life insurance policy on you, how much should I get? Oh baby, don't worry, just get enough just to bear it. They're not thinking of they're not thinking
Long
ahead.
term.
They're not thinking long term. And which is not their fault. But when you hear that in your mind, if you're not educated, excuse me, you're not educated right then and there, what'll happen is guess what, you will develop that same mindset. It's like you stated earlier. Well, I'm only doing this because my mom and dad is doing it. They did this to me. You know, even when we raise our kids, like, mom, why you not? You know, you did this to me, so why can't I chastise him? Well, you know, it's not. Y'all done got soft grandparents. I'm just letting y'all know that y'all. But the thing is, right? Once again, we have to be those ones once again to stand in the gap and say, hey, we're going to do something different. How about this? Well, grandma is on a fixed income. Let's all come together, get a big old policy, whether if it's, and even also at grandma's age, she will qualify for a final expense policy. So probably up to $40,000 to $50,000. Take $15,000 away from the 50. That's will leave family with 35,000. Guess what that 35,000 can do? Fix up grandma's house. You know, whatever type of cabinets and things of that magnitude, or anything the house needed fixing. Guess what? You got 35,000. Also pay the taxes, and guess what? Now you can have grandma house and papa house as the everybody. Well, we'll be having a family reunion at. Go to grandma and papa house. Or if somebody, one of the family members get down and out, guess what? Man, I got to move back home. They ain't gotta move in
Mm-hmm.
with a family member. They can just go to grandma and papa house. Make sure you
Mm-hmm.
keep it up. Make sure that get the grass cut and everything. Make sure you keep it like it's supposed to be. But that can be the safe haven for the y'all just don't understand this thing, this life insurance and
How
trust
much it
and
can cover. Yeah, I have a feeling if more questions come about, because we're pretty much out of our time, but I'll admit if more questions come about, I'm probably going to invite you back on, because that little nugget alone out of the whole show blew my mind. Because I I'm mad I can't think of the name of it, but his father is a famous bishop of the AME Church. He was, or he is, but he created a documentary, and part of the documentary they were just showing all these families that had this land in their family for generations, and because people didn't have things in place, land has been snuffed out. And I remember it was one scene where the family came together with so much money to try to get the land back that was up for auction, but they didn't have enough because someone bid more money than them. So my thing is, I just wonder if you would have took the time in the beginning before grandma passed, before whoever owns that property had passed, if we would have taken the time to take out a policy and kind of map out mathematically what do we need to have to make sure we can sustain this for at least 5 years or at least 10 years. And then and one thing I'll add to that, while I'm sustaining this through the life insurance policy I put out on my grandmother, I'm putting in money as a family in the pot, so when that runs out,
yes, yeah.
we can keep that up.
And guess what? All it is now you're just worrying about growth. That's it. Because now don't just get a policy on grandma. Now you get a policy on yourself. Now you get a policy on everybody. Should be getting a group policy on everybody. That's that's the way I envision it. So we got one on grandma. All right, now who's the oldest? Who's the oldest cousin? All right, now everybody get a policy on that person. Put it, and
We
that's
may
how
have another podcast on this, because that's the wheels are turning right now. Because the more people knew this, because if you think about how much we spent on a cookout alone, Black people, we go in on cookouts, like the way how much money we spend sometimes on cookouts, and that can be somebody's policy paid up for the year, and just
your uncle that can't get right. Everybody talking bad about him. He's one of them too. Get a policy on uncle. You know, he might have his ways, but get a small policy on uncle as well. I see some group economic. Yes, that's all it is.
Yeah, group economics. Somebody else was just talking about that the other day. Like we have so long have gotten this twisted where we can do it all by ourselves, and God never intended us for to do that. Like and I'm mad. I hate when I want to refer to something I can't remember. But it's a certain number, a certain Acts, a chapter in Acts, where they said no. They made sure everyone came together with their resources and made sure no one went without. Like they sold whatever they had to sell. They gave away, whether it was land or belongings, to make sure that no one in that particular area went without. And that's how we have to look at our family and making sure we're taking care of our family. So again, it starts again with you finding life insurance. I need some of you to research and find out where you can get life insurance, what all it offers. Now, one thing we did not talk about, and this is why I'm going to invite you back on, but there's two different types of life insurance that we want to make sure. What is the type that they definitely need to have versus the other one?
Okay, that is a great question. Now, I'm an insurance broker, so I deal with both. Well, the first two, let me answer that question first. The first one is whole, and you got term. So whole life and term life, or perm and term, permanent and term. All right. Whole life is just for your whole life. Term is for a certain amount of time. Now, the great question you just asked, because I get asked this a lot. What is the best type? Now, you will have some agents that are for a particular company, right? They only do one thing, so they will tell you, hey, go this route or whatever. I say this right here. As a broker, listen, people, I am a broker. Don't listen to somebody that's just not, I'm not saying not to listen to them, but I would rather you listen to someone who has their hands on all of the products, because the perfect or the best type of insurance is for what your situation is. because
Mm-hmm.
your situation may be different from the next lady. So you have an 18-year-old, right? Do you have any more kids?
No.
Okay, so you might, and you also are a business owner. So there may be a certain type of life insurance policy that you may need to suffice and sustain what you have built compared to somebody else. So
Mm-hmm.
somebody might need a term policy. Somebody may need a whole life policy. Now, do you have people that have mixed emotions about, well, no, I just do term, and term is, of course, is more. I don't want to say, I don't like using the word affordable. It's more comfortable to purchase, right? Because it's cheaper. But
Mm-hmm.
whole life, it's not as, it's not as cheap. But you only got that one time payment for the rest of your life. And but like I said, it just depends upon the person's situation. Everybody's situation is different.
Okay. So you're definitely coming back on. So we can expand on that a little bit more.
Mhm.
And again, like he said before, you want to start with making sure you have some type of life insurance. I would strongly she said universal life and UILs. So because I'll admit, Gabrielle, we are out of time. We are definitely going to convene. So I'm going to write that question down. And
IUL,
now
say IUL,
UIL.
yeah, universal was actually IUL, index universal
Okay.
life. Yeah, so that's a great, if for you, you're a business owner. I specialize. That's actually my strong point. IULs and annuities.
Okay.
Yeah,
So now I'm realizing y'all need to learn about the different types of life insurance we
yeah,
have out there. So
it's a
that
whole
will
lot.
be a show within itself, which I'm excited. I love when something bursts something else. Like I am beyond excited. So again, get life insurance on yourself. And
Mhm.
one thing I want to strongly recommend, if you have a grandma or you have somebody in your family that's elderly and you find out that, and ask them, I know she's gonna be like, why are you in my business? Because we want to make sure, grandma, that we keep certain things in place. We want to make sure you're taken care of. Get in their business, find out if they have a policy, and maybe the cousins, the aunties, the siblings, whoever needs to come together and give them a policy. And then on top of that, you want to make sure you have a will in place, as he said. When you get the will in place, then now you're going to take that life insurance policy and that will and transfer it to the trust. Now we quoted 5,000, but it may be as low as 2,000. It's just a matter how much the lawyer is going to charge you to put this together. But this is a one-time cost, which means if you're one of those people that I see y'all on Instagram be going on these 50 million vacations, maybe you just want to go on one this year, or maybe go on none to make sure this is in place. But I greatly appreciate y'all tuning in. Um, Hold on one sec. I'm trying to think. What is episode 8? Oh, this is technically this is episode 7. So episode 8 is going to be my former student, Tony Richbo, who is a current pre-K teacher. So we're going to talk about him. Tony was part of the Call Me Mr. program, which is a program in South Carolina that will help you go to school for free if you're a male and you're a minority. So we're going to talk about that too. Some of the things I want to talk to you about voting wise, and I had it up on my phone and I lost it that quickly. Where did I put it? Hold on, give me a second. I'm mad I had it up and it's gone. But if I'm not mistaken, it starts as early as the 21st of October is when early voting starts. If someone wants to put that in the comments and help me out, I greatly appreciate it. But I could have sworn I had it up and now the sun is missing. Thank you, Gabrielle, for tuning in, and we definitely will come back again. And matter of fact, let me just. I apologize for this, y'all. So early voting starts on Monday, October 21st, and it ends on Saturday, November 2nd. The polls are open as early as 8:30 a.m. and they close at 6 p.m. Find out in your county. And again, the name of that website you need to go to is scvotes.gov. If you go to that website, you will type in whatever information you need to type in. It will tell you, have you pull up your county. It will have you pull up your voting precinct. I want to say you can register to vote on this website too, but if not, it will direct you on where you need to go. But make sure your voting information is correct. Make sure you know where to go, and make sure you know who to vote for. So if you click sample ballot, it will show you the people who are running for office. Go on their websites and find out what they're looking for. But again, our next episode will not air into the 22nd. Because it's like the 24th and the 22nd of that week. Yeah. Episode 8 will air on the 22nd, and then episode 9, I already have that planned. Her name is Arisha Connor. She is an actress, former school teacher who just decided to bet on herself. I look forward to sharing her journey. And then I already have episode 10 already planned. Episode 10 are two of my other former students, who Terrell Vaughn and Dominique Lemon, who to me were the awesome student athletes, which means they make sure they took care of student first. They're going to come on and have a conversation, because we need our people, especially our Black people. Our people don't just have your child run up and down the field and they have nothing in their heads. Okay. So thank you so much for tuning in. This will be up on my Facebook page for at least 24 hours, and then I will take it down, but you can always access it on my YouTube page. Please be sure to follow me if you're not already. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Twitter or X, YouTube, all that good stuff. And again, you can also follow him for any information. And I greatly appreciate y'all coming on. Y'all have a good night. Don't you go anywhere, Calderone.
You have a good night, people.